V.F.A. It's Sunday. You're gonna make your play for the V.F.A. Today you're gonna fly. It's Sunday for the V.F.A. It's Sunday, yes, Sunday. It's Sunday for the V.F.A. It's Sunday, yes, Sunday. It's Sunday for the V.F.A.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the V.F.A. Grand Final for 1982 between Preston and Port Melbourne, being played here at the Junction Oval. And what a grand final it promises to be. A tremendous crowd on looking around the ground. We've just had a great deal of excitement in the seconds final, in which Sandringham 18-10 defeated Preston, a total of 12-15. Well, we have with us the president of the V.F.A, Mr. Alan Wicks. And Alan, no doubt you'd be pretty excited about the roll-up here today.
It's a wonderful atmosphere, isn't it, Phil? And I think we're in for a great day.
Very colourful crowd, Alan, and I think the way the V.F.A have operated this year deserves congratulations.
We aim to present a festival of final football, and I think we've just done that.
Well, Alan, where do you see the future of the V.F.A?
Well, I think, Phil, that the V.F.A will ultimately become the pinnacle for all senior clubs in Victoria to aim for. Obviously, the VFL will head in a direction maybe interstate, maybe international, who knows. But the V.F.A is a truly Victorian competition, and we see ourselves as being a pinnacle for clubs to aim for within Victoria.
Alan, it was interesting to see Dr. Aylett at the luncheon today with Jack Hamilton, the Premier and the Leader of the Opposition.
We were very thrilled with the roll-up of people that we had, and particularly the Leader of the Opposition and the Premier. But I think it was great for football that Dr. Aylett and Jack Hamilton were here.
Well, Alan, it's been great being associated with you over the finals. Congratulations, all the best for today's grand final.
Thank you very much, Phil.
Thank you. And now let's go over to the dressing rooms, and first of all we'll take you into Preston with Rob Asprey and Ray Shaw.
Thank you very much, Phil Gibbs, and a very good afternoon to our viewers at home. Well, after a very distinguished career with the Collingwood Football Club, Ray Shaw returned to Preston this year, and a magnificent performance to get the boys into the grand final. But of course, you're playing last year's premiers. There must be a lot of incentive to beat them.
Sure, Rob. We've been talking about it all week. They beat us by 15 goals last year in the grand final, and I don't believe the players put in after half-time. I had to talk to a few of the players, and they said they gave up, and that's not the right attitude to do in a grand final. But it is a completely different side this year. We've got probably 9 or 10 new players in the side, so the Preston side from last year to this year is completely different.
Ray, the fact that you're starting favourites, any chance of a little bit of complacency there?
No, it doesn't really worry me about being favourites or being the underdogs. It's Port against Preston, 18 against 18, and the best side today is going to win the game.
Ray Shaw, on behalf of your many Collingwood fans, and you have a lot of them, there's no doubt about that, right throughout Victoria, which this telecast is going today, and also on behalf of your many Preston fans who are watching today, would like to wish you all the very best, and again, congratulations on making the grand final.
Thank you very much, Rob, and to all those well wishes, thank you very much.
Great, Ray Shaw. Well, that's the latest from the Preston rooms, and after this break, we'll be going across, and we'll have the latest from the opponents' rooms, Port Melbourne. Welcome back to our live coverage of the 1982 V.F.A Grand Final. At this stage, I would like to say what a real pleasure it is for me to be associated with this telecast and this Festival of Finals. I must admit I was somewhat reluctant, apprehensive before we went into the final series. Well, I can now say, and I don't mind admitting, I was wrong. And if some of you viewers at home agree with me after today's game that you've enjoyed the telecast, well, may I suggest that you write to me at Channel 10, and I'll certainly pass those letters on to the V.F.A, and maybe next year when the rights are being negotiated, that will be some support. Well, Gary, congratulations on making the grand final.
Thanks, Rob. But that's only one part of the job. We've got to win it now. It's no good being here and not performing well.
Right. Well, now, any worries about today's game as regards playing the favourites?
Well, the players know full well what that means. You know, they've proven through the home and home games that they're the best side in the competition. But that doesn't mean that they're the best final side in the competition. They have yet to prove that. And in order to prove that, they have to beat us. And I think that they'll find that quite a difficulty.
Right, well, of course, you are experienced as regards grand finals. That must be a big help.
Well, I think so. Everyone keeps saying finals games are different to home and home games, and it's so true. The pressures are immense, and the players have to come through that for, you know, the whole 4 weeks of the final series, and it's even doubled by the time you get to the grand final. We've proven that we can sustain our playing form under those conditions, but Preston really haven't produced the goods yet. They've only won one. We've won 2 finals so far.
Well, once again, Gary, thanks very much for being with us. As I said only moments ago, and you heard my remarks, I think it's been fantastic, the fact that the V.F.A. finals have been telecast, and I do hope that a Melbourne television station, hopefully Channel 10, take up the challenge and telecast the finals again next year and maybe even the whole season.
Well, I hope that that's possible, Rob, because I think that the V.F.A. certainly needs live telecasts. If the whole season could be done again, I think it would be great, but certainly it's really made a great lot of enthusiasm for the final series this year, which may not have been there otherwise.
Well, as I said, if people at home enjoy today's telecast and looking through the list of players here, gee whiz, there's some talent there on both sides. If they write to me, I'll certainly pass the letters on to the V.F.A.
Well, I think as we get as much support in that regard as possible, maybe then with a groundswell of support, we will have television next year, and I think we need it.
Thanks very much, Gary Bryce. All the very best for today's game on behalf of your many fans, former South Melbourne and now Port Melbourne fans. I think most of the Port Melbourne fans will be here today.
They're here today, yes.
Okay.
Thanks, Rob.
Thanks very much, Gary Bryce. Well, now it's time to introduce the sports director of Channel 10, Phil Gibbs, up in the commentary box.
Right, thank you very much, Rob, and what a tremendous atmosphere it's been down here while the interviews have been on. You've seen some of the shots coming up with the marching girls, the Moomba band. We had the parachutists come in, and also introduced today was the J Field winner Mark Williams and the 1982 JJ Liston Trophy winner Jeff Austin, who did a preliminary circuit of the ground. A great atmosphere, a big crowd for the V.F.A. Grand Final for 1982 between Preston and Port Melbourne. And before we introduce more and give you the team changes, let's take this break. Well, both teams have broken up, and the umpires for today. Field umpire is Frank Vagona, 10 years with the V.F.A, and Keith Hogston, 7 years with the V.F.A. The boundary umpires Glenn McBurney, 3 years, and Alan Radford, 5 years. The goal umpires Brian Jones and Bob Hogan, and the board representative Stan Winter. And now let's introduce our co-commentators for the afternoon, Rex Hunt and Harold Martin, as we have the toss about to take place. Welcome, Rex.
Yes, welcome, Phil, and thank you very much for the introduction. What a fantastic sight it is today. It's going to be a great game, and not as one-sided as I think a lot of people believe.
Well, I don't think it will be. And Harold Martin down here, you participated last week, but a big crowd here today, Harold.
Yes, a big crowd, Phil. I agree with Rex. I think it's going to be a close game, but I think Preston's got too much all-round ability and have proved that during the year, but Port Melbourne's final experience will keep them in good stead.
Well, Gary Bryce is moving over, getting ready for the toss. And we're waiting on He's won the toss, has he?
Yes, Phil. Port Melbourne won the toss and are kicking to the city or lake end with the slight breeze.
I was that busy looking at Harold there, the charming looks he's got up here, that we didn't see it happening down there.
Well, Phil,
Rob.
with everything going on, it really is fantastic. I'd say one of the most impressive openings to a sports event that I've ever seen.
Yes,
Would you agree with that?
they've done it very, very well, the V.F.A. Now, let's have a look at the teams as selected on Thursday night. First of all, we have coming up the Preston side. Do you, Rex Hunt, changes?
Yes, there's definitely two changes in the Preston side. You'll find that Greg Marshall, number 29, won't take his place in the side, and number 13, Carla Van, who was apparently injured during the week, will take that place. And also into the side is number 17, McKeon, taking the place of number 40, Glenn Meredith. So they're the two that we've picked up. And also the emergencies in Peter Bartlett, number 22, and number 12 in Greg Fremantle will pull out of the side.
Right, let's look now at the Port Melbourne side. Over to you, Harold Martin.
Well, it looks like Andy Demetriou's taken the place of Peter Badbury, Phil, and I think Demetriou could be used to unsettle Austin. I think that'd be the reasoning behind that.
Right, Harold Martin, your selection.
I've gone for Preston, Phil.
Rex?
I'm going for Port Melbourne.
And I'm going for Port Melbourne. You gave me a heck of a shock there. I thought you'd be going for Preston, Rob.
Well, I'd have to go for Preston too, Phil.
And Ian Gibbs down here. Ian?
Well, Port have won 5 out of the last V.F.A. Grand Finals. I suggest Port might do it today. As has been said, Preston are outright favourites in today's Grand Final. Preston have had a far more successful season than the opposition, Preston being beaten only twice this season, those teams being Camberwell and Coburg. Both occasions Port and Preston have played this season. Preston have revenged last year's premiership defeat. The first round they defeated Port Melbourne by 29 points, and in the second round they defeated them by 72. Although, as we are aware, Port Melbourne are final specialists, proving this by winning 5 out of the last 8 V.F.A. finals.
Right, we're just waiting now. Chad Band, I notice, there. Will go in the first ruck today. Against Jeff Austin, the 82 Liston Trophy winner. The bounce came out towards Chad Band, but Swan is the player to get the tap out. Ray Shaw goes down to the ground. But the free kick will be given here to Kavanagh.